Today we're looking at the election of 1860. Hello, welcome to the Daily Bellringer. Please don't forget to subscribe and take a look at the questions down in the description. Also, I'd love to see your answer to question number 5 in the comments below. So the election of 1860 is one of the most hotly contested and consequential elections in American history, with 4 candidates running for the office of President of the United States. This is really going to be the last straw that's going to lead us towards secession and eventually civil war. Now, of course, the main issue that the candidates were arguing was the issue of slavery, and how was slavery going to be dealt with in new territories as we move out to the West and new states that are added to the Union. So let's take a look at the candidates. First, we have Abraham Lincoln, who is the nominee for this relatively new Republican Party. And Abraham Lincoln had gained fame debating Stephen Douglas when he ran for that Illinois Senate seat in 1858. And Lincoln had lost that election, but his star had really risen since then, and a lot of people saw him as being a good candidate for president. So, of course, he gets nominated. His main message was union, that we have to keep the Union together. And in fact, he had given a speech during that 1858 campaign against Douglas, known as the House Divided speech, where he basically said a house divided against itself cannot stand. Of course, those words are going to kind of carry him through the Civil War as he tries to lead the nation as president. But Lincoln's stance on slavery was leave it alone where it is at and just simply don't allow it to expand west. He kind of felt like if we just left it alone, it would die off on its own, just as long as we don't allow it to expand. The Democratic Party by 1860 was torn apart really over this issue of slavery. We have Northern Democrats and Southern Democrats with very different ideas. Southern Democrats, of course, wanted slavery to expand everywhere, to be able to expand west, to be able to expand into the north, everywhere basically. And they also argued on state sovereignty, saying that the states should have more power than the federal government, or states' rights. Think back to the nullification crisis. They still had that same idea that they could nullify federal law. Northern Democrats, on the other hand, were more in favor of not allowing slavery to expand, and also they were more in favor of a strong federal government that was in charge, not the states. So the Democrats actually nominate 2 candidates to run for president. The Northern Democrats nominate Stephen Douglas, of course, the guy that had debated with Lincoln in the Lincoln-Douglas debates. And once again, his big platform was popular sovereignty. Allow citizens in these new territories to decide the issue of slavery when they apply for statehood. So he felt like, or he argued, that this was the most democratic method of handling the issue of slavery, to allow people to vote on it in these new states. Of course, we'd already seen that kind of fall apart in Kansas with Bleeding Kansas. But Southern Democrats, they nominated a guy named John Breckinridge, who was from Kentucky and a slaveholder. And of course, Breckinridge, he's very pro-slavery. He wants slavery to expand everywhere. In fact, he demanded that the federal government, basically defend slavery and defend the rights of slaveholders in new territories. Interestingly, though, he also argued for union, to keep the Union together, while at the same time saying that states had the right to secede. So he's kind of giving a mixed message there. Lastly, we have a group of disgruntled Democrats and some former Whig Party members that form the Constitutional Union Party, this whole new party, and they nominate a guy named John Bell from Tennessee. Now, as you can guess from the name of the party, the Constitutional Union Party, their big issue was defend the Constitution and keep the Union together, was their big thing. Basically, their idea was, let's just keep on compromising. Compromises have worked so far, let's just keep on compromising. And actually, they never really take a hard stance on slavery, except for Bell does kind of argue that maybe we should bring back in the Missouri Compromise and follow that 3630 boundary of slavery. So, on November 6th, 1860, Americans had 4 candidates to choose from when they went to the polls to vote. Interestingly, though, in most southern states, Abraham Lincoln did not even appear on the ballot. Since he was, opposed to slavery expanding, they didn't even put him on the ballot in a lot of southern states. Despite that, Lincoln is able to win the election. Actually wins pretty much in a landslide of the Electoral College with 180 electoral votes, even though he only won 40% of the popular vote. You got to remember, most of the population lived in the North, and he carried all of the northern states. Stephen Douglas, he wins 12 electoral votes, so he finishes, distant from Lincoln. Breckinridge and Bell split the southern vote, with Breckinridge getting 72 electoral votes and John Bell getting 39 electoral votes. But no state votes for Lincoln in the South, or he doesn't carry any states in the South. So Lincoln now would become the next president of the United States without even one single Southern vote. So the South is absolutely outraged. They view Lincoln, they believe he's an abolitionist. They believe that Lincoln's going to try to eliminate slavery and destroy the cornerstone of the Southern economy. So they begin to threaten secession. They also view this election as being kind of confirmation that the federal government was taking over by basically putting in a president that they didn't even vote for in the South. And so we're really on the verge of secession here. And actually, before Lincoln is sworn in March of 1861, 11 Southern states had already seceded from the Union. And barely a month later, we see the first shot of the Civil War occurring. So really, this election is the last straw leading us towards Civil War. All right, hopefully you learned something there, and thanks for watching.